Orion Cosce on fight week and ahead of your UFC debut. I'd just like to ask first and foremost, how are things and how are things in Las Vegas?
Things are good. We're just at the Fighter Hotel right now. We had to show up, do some COVID testing. We all passed. So we're going to go out here in a little bit. I'm going to get a workout in that heat, cut some more weight. And then, body's feeling great. No injuries, no nothing. I feel good. I feel really healthy. Just hardest part's always the weight cut.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you will have obviously has a little bit of an insight into fight week with Lewis's fight last year, your brother.
Yeah, so I was supposed to fight on that card, and Lewis was added as a last minute because they had a falling out, and they're like, hey, how would you like to fight? So he got to fight on that card. I ended up having to pull out 2 weeks before the fight card, though, because I had a neck injury and a nerve injury. So that actually took a couple of months to heal up. They were saying it was going to take about 18 to 24 months for it to properly heal. But after 3.5 months, I was back to doing what I was able to do. So I feel a lot better, feel strong.
With the greatest of respect, making your debut, or originally meant to make your debut against Nicholas Dolby, is no short order. Dolby is a veteran of the sport. How difficult was it getting that fight cancelled and having to pull out?
Man, that fucking sucked. Having to back out of any fight is, it kind of sucks. Having to say hey, man, I can't do it because I went a whole entire week trying to think it's just a stinger. It's just a stinger. My arm will go back to normal. And then it came down to the point where I went to the doctors and they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to sign off on this. In fact, we'll call right now and say you're kind of fucked up. And I was like, all right, fuck you. So I just told my manager, and my manager's like, well, let's just take care of you. How long are they saying? I was like, well, they said this long, but I'm going to make it this long. So the doctors were trying to tell, it was 4 bulging discs. All the nerves in the brachial plexus were either overstretched or pinched, depending on the location of which nerve it was. So it really affected my right arm, pectoral, trapezius, and lateral muscle. But after 3 months, just working through the pain, trying to do what I can, fucking feeling great. Felt a lot better after 3 months. Was doing strength training, got all my, weight up, got even bigger. I went from walking around about 198 to 205, depending on how much I ate or drank that day, to walking around 212, 215. And so the weight cut, I told myself, I was like, all right, I got my weight up, I got my strength up, I'm fully healed. It's time to start cutting. So about 2 months out, 2.5 months out, I started cutting slowly, getting the weight down slower and slower. So this weight cut will probably be a little tough because I put on more muscle, but I'll still make weight nonetheless.
Was a move to middleweight ever a consideration?
I'd like to fight at both 170 and 185. I wouldn't mind that. I can do it.
Yeah, superb. Let's talk about the fight at hand. So as I mentioned, Saturday night, 31st of July, you'll be facing Philip Rowe in a welterweight contest. I'd just like to ask first and foremost, what do you make of Rowe as an upcoming style matchup?
He's just a tall, lengthy fighter. I've seen him in a couple of fights. He'll get a little sporadic. He'll try to throw long, lengthy shots. He'll try to throw them fast. He'll mix it up a little bit with his leg kicks, or he'll throw a body kick every now and then. But one thing I noticed is he doesn't like pressure. So I'm going to go in there, just do what I naturally do, and that's pressure the shit out of him. Every fighter I've ever faced, they try to say that they're going to go out there and break my will. But once I start pressuring them, it kind of just breaks them mentally. And I fought tall, lengthy fighters before. No one with as long as a reach in a professional or amateur fight as Phil Rowe.
Yeah.
But I have training partners who have longer reaches than him, and I've been doing pretty well in training camp. So
a big part of your game, as you mentioned, is your pressure. And when you look at an opponent who you don't feel copes well under pressure, that's got to give you a little bit of reassurance in terms of your game plan and your strategy going in.
Yeah, no. So, my game plan is always the same. I'm going to pressure any fighter. It doesn't matter. Counter fighter, pressure fighter, switch stance, ortho, southpaw. They can be whatever style of fighter they want. I'm going to go in and try to pressure them. Because if I can pressure them, it's just going to wear them down. They can be in great shape, but if they've never handled a guy who can keep going forward and pressuring them, more and more and more with, both striking and grappling experience, it's going to be a tougher fight for them.
It's always been a part of combat sports, but especially in MMA, probably the last 5 or 6 years, pressure has become such a utilized weapon, and we see so many fighters with great gas tanks who use it as their kind of primary attribute, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, look at GSP. He was most dominant when he was pressuring in a fight, and his close fights, it's when he wasn't pressuring. So if you put it in terms of like the champions, you usually see like a lot of these champions usually start to pick up the pace. They start to pressure more. John Jones, when he was the light heavyweight champion, he was dominant when he was pressuring. He didn't look as dominant when the first round or first 2 rounds, he wasn't pressuring, but then he found his range, he found his time, and starts pushing the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
You see that with a lot of these champions nowadays. The less the less pressure they put on, the more prone they are to losing a fight or potentially losing a fight, versus if you put the pressure on somebody, it's going to fucking, it takes a toll on them. It just depends on how long can you keep that pressure up.
Of course, yeah, of course. Obviously, Rowe's coming off a loss in his last fight against Gabe Green.
Yep.
What is it like? What is it like fighting an opponent who's coming off a loss, where you've obviously got a little bit of a roadmap as to how to get the victory?
I don't give a shit. I mean, he's a fighter. He's going to go out there. He's going to try to fucking knock me out. I'm going to try to knock him out. If we're on the ground, he's going to try to submit me. I'm going to try to submit him, or, we're going to try to hurt each other while we're out there. I met him yesterday, shook hands. We were cordial to each other, but we understand, outside of the cage, it's whatever. We're just 2 people. Inside of the cage, we're 2 people trying to fuck each other up. And that's the mentality I have when I go in that cage. I don't go in there to be buddy-buddy with anybody. I'm not going in there to try to, finish somebody but not hurt them. No, I'm going in there to fucking punch somebody up. So that's the difference in mentality between me and a lot of other fighters. So fighting a guy coming off a loss or coming off a win or coming off their debut, I really don't care. They're just another person in my way.
Do you have to flip a switch when you're getting in that cage, or is that something that happens naturally for you?
Oh, it just happens naturally. I'm used to it. I grew up wrestling, grew up fighting, shit like that. So just pretty much grew up playing sports. I already knew that if you're thinking while you're competing, you're going to be a little bit slower physically. So as long as you're not thinking, you're just letting your body react the way that it knows how to naturally while you're doing whatever sport you're doing, you'll be a lot faster, you'll be a lot stronger, and you'll be in better shape doing it.
Presumably you and Lewis have grown up competing together. I've never had a brother, but I would imagine that's an innate competitive rivalry that you're always kind of at each other's throats, trying to do better than each other.
Yeah. It was never like animosity. It's more like a loving brother rivalry that we had. We always pushed each other to be better. So I mean, we strapped it out when we were little kids. We had our little spits and spats, but he's actually here right now. Lewis, when's the last time you think we actually? It's been like years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
But we don't argue. We don't argue at all. So it's pretty cool.
That's tonight. Listen, I look at you two and I think it's so special and so cool that the 2 brothers on the road traveling together. It's a little bit Nick and Nate Diaz at times, isn't it?
That's what people keep saying.
Said you guys are more badass.
My coach said we're more badass, so I appreciate that. It's one of those things. I met the Diaz brothers, and they had their thing, and the Cosce brothers, we have our thing, just like the Pettis brothers, or there are some other brothers that were in the UFC as well.
The Miller brothers.
There's the Burns brothers. Who was the other one? There's one where there was a brother, Jay.
Lozons.
Yeah, the Lozons.
The Lozons, Ellenbergers.
Yeah.
The Guidas.
And the Guidas. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Always forget, like there's some brothers that do better than others, but I feel like my brother and I will stay level with each other, and we'll keep moving up in the rankings. Everyone has their own style, their own fit. They grew up in different places. It's just, how it is with MMA fans or even sports fans in general. It's like Patrick Mahomes is now being compared to, fucking Michael Vick, or Lamar Jackson's being compared to Michael Vick and stuff like that, because they want to compare these guys to past people, or like how they compared Kobe Bryant and LeBron James to people like Michael Jordan and stuff like that. They're trying to compare Giannis Antetokounmpo to Larry Bird, or even Magic Johnson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But the problem with all that is it's like different eras, different people. You got to kind of stick people with each other in their own styles, especially if they do have their own styles. Like the Diaz brothers, they have their own style. Like they're known for the stop and slat. They both go out there. They're cardio kings. my brother and I, we kind of just push the pace on people. We're looking for the fucking finish every single time. We're not in there for a long time. We're in there to try to get the fight done, because you're not paid to fight all 15 or all 25 minutes. Like, you are paid to do that, sure, but you can also make that money just as fast, within 10 seconds, 20 seconds, first round, second round. So the goal as a fighter is to get in, get out without any injuries, while also, inflicting damage on your opponent. That way you can be ready to fight again.
It's a crazy sport when you think about it, isn't it? The way now so many people in like normal society get paid by an hourly rate, and let's say football or basketball, how long you're going to play, but you walk in there and knock Phil Rowe with the first punch, you get paid the same as a 15-minute split decision war. It's crazy.
Fuck, it'd be sweet to get a 50K bonus if I fucking knocked him out. That's what I'm trying to do. I feel like I'm an exciting fighter. I feel like I put on a performance for the fans. I'm not even trying to fight for the fans. I just feel like I'm exciting. I'm going to look for the finish, though. So hopefully it's a finish that Dana White, Sean Shelby, and those guys, think is performance of the night worthy.
Does that have any extra weight on your mind? Because I've spoke to a lot of fighters. Some will say I don't have any interest in it. If it comes great, but not really my concern. Other people will go, I want that bonus, I'm going to go and get it. Where do you stand on that line of the performance bonus?
Fuck, I want to get it. I mean, that's an extra 50,000. Those fighters that are saying, I don't care if I get it, I get it. Those are probably boring ass fucking point fighters that are trying to fucking draw out a fucking lame ass decision. Like, those guys can go fuck themselves. You're in there to fight. You're not in there to fucking spar or fucking, try to fucking point jab your way to a fucking decision victory. It's boring as hell. Those fighters, they deserve to get their ass beat. And fucking when I go out there, the UFC's going to see somebody that's going to go out, put on a show, try to get the fucking finish however, whenever, and wherever. And then, try to be back in that cage ASAP.
You've obviously shown that throughout your career, haven't you? 100% finish rate. Obviously, your last fight was you were on your way to a decision victory, but the nature of Dana White's contender series is that finish is paramount, isn't it?
Yeah, no. So I pretty much just told myself, fuck the judges. Like, I always say that, but I don't trust judges, man. Last fight card, we saw a lot of these judges give away decisions to the other fighter that totally did not deserve to win. And that's the problem with this. You got these fighters that are content with being up 2-0 and thinking, hey, I can coast this round. All I have to do is not get finished, or I just got to keep it pretty close and I win the fight. You can't trust on the judges to not give you the decision. You can win all 3 rounds, but if the judges think, hey, those are pretty close rounds, we're going to give it to the other guy, then you're kind of fucked over. It's like, fuck, like, you can't change it. You can't do anything about it. Even if you try to petition, or file for a petition to, change the verdict to a no contest, it's a fight you won. Why should it be a no contest? You won that fight. You were just robbed by the judges. So I'm going to leave it out of the judges, as much as I can. And that's pretty much every single fight. I'm going to go out there, fight hard, pressure, get the finish.
Just got to very quickly touch on your last fight on the Dana White Contender Series, as I mentioned, and a very special night for your family, I presume, with both you and Lewis getting the contracts. Probably a cliche question, but I've got to ask, what was that night like for you and the Cosce family?
Well, that was fucking sweet. We were talking about it back in 2017. Lewis was talking about, like, he wasn't sure, like, if we didn't make it to the UFC, he wasn't sure if he was gonna fight or not after that, just because he was gonna go into full-time work. And I was like, I could literally just open up a gym. I could, train people. I was doing pretty well with that. But then we were talking. I was like, fuck it, dude. 2020 is going to be our year. I was like, watch, 2020, we're going to make it to the UFC. And fucking, we just trained our asses off for 3 years. But we were always training our asses off for the fights. And, we fell in touch with the right manager. I actually fell in touch with the manager because of my brother. So he ended up getting the manager before me. My brother hit him up and told him, hey, I got a brother. Like, hit him up. He's like, I don't want there to be any differences just because I was at Alpha Male and stuff like that. But I didn't really have a manager too much. So I was managing myself for the most part, getting my own fights and shit like that. So I talked to him. We got things hashed down. My brother and I, we ended up both with a Iridium agency, and Jason's been taking great care of us. So it was cool. Even this big dude right here, He's going to be in the corner this week, and Brian, he's been helping us a lot with our training as well since we were up at Lost Boys. But even he fucking cried. It was cool. We had to make fun of him. How you teared up because we got to the UFC.
I wasn't. Dry weather allergies.
It's dry weather allergies.
It's all coming out now, isn't it? It's all coming out at the revelations.
No, it was fucking surreal, dude. Like being told like we both got, we're living out our dream now. Like our goal is to make it to the UFC, and we fucking get to do that. So it's kind of like Lewis isn't fighting on the card this time, but it's still pretty cool having like the three amigos down here. So it's pretty fucking sweet. We have a crew down here. We just talk shit to each other. We have fun with it, and get training in while we can, and everything's good.
I can say this now because it never happens, but in the back of my mind, I would maybe be sat there thinking, imagine one of us gets a contract and one of us doesn't. That would be such a horrible feeling, but it never worked out like that, and thankfully there was no bitterness and nothing like that, and both the Cosce brothers.
Oh, there never would have been any bitterness. If Lewis would have made it and I didn't make it, I would be super fucking supportive of my brother. I just tell him, hey, I'll be catching up to you soon. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same feelings, vice versa. We'd push each other to both be in the UFC. But, I mean, if you think about it, we both win our fights. The UFC is going to turn down one and, keep the other. I don't think so. I think they want to have both brothers come in. Especially with our story, man, a lot of people love that shit. They love hearing about how people, rised up and came through their hardships and shit like that. And so being able to have, two siblings that are there for each other throughout all of it, fucking, whereas like most other siblings either don't really have that close of a, relationship, like they're not closely connected, or they'll be like, yeah, that's my sibling, but we don't really talk too much. It's like, fuck, my brother and I talk almost every other day.
Yeah. It's a great story as well, and the other beauty of it is you both being in the same division at 170 is you can make that rise together. I think that's going to be obviously. Let's hope one of you don't become the champion, the other one become the number one contender, because that would be a strange conversation. But it's going to be quite a cool rise as the Cosce brothers have their UFC run.
Yeah, no, fucking. I mean, we'll never fight each other. There's no reason for it, because the problem with that is we could literally get paid however much they want to, but it would probably be just like a sparring match. So that's not a fight. Like everyone would know it'd be kind of like it's not a fight at all. Yeah. So if you guys ever want to watch us fight, watch us spar. But that's it. But I would say if that ever happens, I just bump up a weight class. Yeah. I think Lewis wants to do 55-70 while I do 70-85. So we're going to talk about it more and more. And when the time comes, it comes. The plan is to be champions of our weight classes. We're not in the UFC just to be in the UFC. We're in the UFC to do things that no one's ever seen. I don't think there's ever been a pair of siblings that's ever won the championship. Like there's been a sibling who's been a title holder. Like, who is it? Valentina Shevchenko. She has a sister. Her sister's really not a top contender. But, Valentina's a fucking monster. Anthony Pettis was a champion. Sergio was never a champion. There's just never been these guys in the UFC or these, ladies in the UFC who ever had a sibling and they were able to make it to where both were the champion at the same time. That'd be really cool to hold that, because then we'd be fucking down in history.
Yeah. It's slightly different, but I spoke to Vicente Luque last week, and we were talking about, obviously, his relationship with Gilbert Burns, who are two guys at the top of your division. And I said, what happens if one of you guys win the world title? Because I know you wouldn't fight each other. And they've got an agreement where if one wins the world title, the other has to move up the other weight class. They have to move to 185. Maybe that could be an agreement between you and Lewis. Whoever wins the welterweight strap, the other one's got to go up a weight class. And I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, no, I mean, fuck, I'd be down, even because I want to capture that 170 title, defend a couple of times. But if Lewis is the number one contender, I have no problem giving up the title so he can fight for it, and then I'll bump up a weight class.
Yeah, superb. Well, I like.
If Lewis is the champion, fucking, I'm gonna bump up. So that's how it is. I'll bump up naturally. I'm the bigger guy.
Yeah,
I'm more dense, so
yeah,
I'll bump up. It's always gonna be prioritizing the both of us.
That sounds like the big brother coming out to you there, Orion.
Yeah, always.
I like to ask people this question, as I always find it an interesting an interesting response. And obviously, we've got your debut coming up, very end of July 2021. What I'd like to ask is, where would you like to be in 12 months' time? So the end of July 2022. What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Fuck, hopefully I'm already 5 or 6 fights into the UFC. Undefeated still, yeah. Fucking, I want to be. I'm 7-0 right now. I'm hoping to be either 12, 13, or 14-0 with all finishes still.
Is that the plan? Super activity, Chimaev, Kevin Holland style?
Yeah, I mean, I already told the UFC, so they know. But if there's a fallout anytime in August and I go out and I just win this fight hella fast, no bumps, no bruises, I'll fight again. I'll even do a 185-pound fight, or I'll do a catch weight at 180 or 175. It doesn't matter. You know, if they give me a month, I can cut that down to 170. If it's 2 weeks, I'll fight either a catch weight or just 185. So I've already been in talks with them. They like the sound of it. So we'll see what happens. I know that there's a lot of fight cards that are booked up right now at different weight classes. So we'll see what happens.
Superb. Well, for one final question, I'll turn the conversation back to Saturday night. And I'm not sure if you're a prediction guy, but I'm going to ask you nonetheless. What happens when you're locked in there with Philip Rowe come Saturday night?
Just predict for me to get a finish. It could be first round, second round, third round. Just predict a finish. You know, I see myself getting a TKO, but I could also see myself getting a submission if he, you know, gets desperate and tries to go for a sloppy shot. I can get behind him. I can also finish it on the ground. There's a lot of different areas. I feel like I'm going to be stronger on the stand-up. I also feel like I'm going to be stronger in the grappling. So I feel like a TKO win is going to be the best bet. But, you know, every time I say TKO, I get a submission win. Every time I say a submission, I get a TKO. So we'll see what happens. You know, I just want to fight. I just want to fight. I just want to win. And then I want to fight again right after. I'll fight again right after that night if the other 170-pound fighter drops out that night.
Well, the main event is middleweight, so I don't want to jinx Uriah Hall or Sean Strickland, but who knows? You know, something could happen. Something could happen post your fight, and they go, Orion, is the opportunity's there? Do you want it? I very much doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, shit. I mean, whoever they want to give me next, as long as it's somebody, you know, ranked above me. I'm not trying to fight people below me the entire time and build up slowly. You know, I'm trying to get to the fucking top. You never know what's going to happen in life. And so fucking, yeah, I like to, you know, move up in the rankings every single fight. So hopefully by this time next year, I'll be in the, you know, top 15. That's my goal. Top 15, top 10. I want to be, you know, eventually looking at, hey, this guy's on a fucking 5-fight, 6-fight win streak. He's finished everybody. Like, let's get him a top 10, top 5 guy and see what he does. And if he can finish him, fucking, we're tossing his hat into the fucking nets for, you know, a title contender.
Yeah, superb. Well, it's going to be an exciting ride, and I very much thank you for your time today, and very much look forward to seeing your UFC debut Saturday night.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Take care.
Before we finish, Orion, just very quickly, how can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Galaxy Cosce. You can follow me. I ain't gonna lie, guys. If you follow me on like my Facebook and shit like that, I'm not gonna follow back. You know, I play video games every now and then, but I'm not trying to make new friends for that or anything. So, yeah, just at Galaxy Cosce on Instagram. That's pretty much where I keep everything mostly updated. If you guys try to catch me on Twitter, I'm usually talking about, you know, AMC stock. And then on Facebook, I'm just trying to get myself canceled by my own family and friends so I can get rid of Facebook. I'll post like the dumbest shit. I'll post the dumbest shit just to piss people off.
And for one final question, the floor is yours. Anything you would like to say or sign off with at all?
Yeah, no, you know, obviously, I, you know, thank my brother and Brian for being here this weekend. I got to thank my striking coach, Ezra. He'll be here Friday. I got to thank the UFC for the opportunity, and my manager, Jason, and our buddy Jacob for Iridium for helping me with everything for the weight cut, taking care of me, you know, setting me up with this fight. And then my sponsors, Gray Bush Metal, doTERRA by, you know, Steph Belkey. She helps me out with keeping me supplemented alongside with Thorn supplements, and then Slate Milk. So good. And Get Right, obviously, you know, they're a gym based out of Humboldt County, but they're going to be expanding here in the future. And so I can't wait to be a part of that.
Superb. Great talking to you today, Orion.
Take care. Oh, Billy, here, this is for you.